on the nuclear weapon. City of San Francisco, if it were ever hit by a 1 megaton nuclear bomb. The book was prepared by the Nuclear Weapons Education Group, and San Francisco supervisors have now asked Mayor Dianne Feinstein to budget $30,000 for its printing and distribution throughout the city of San Francisco. No word yet on whether the mayor is going to carry out the request of the supervisors. Last week, researchers at Berkeley's Lawrence Laboratory made a major scientific breakthrough. It's a complex achievement and one that's now being stalled by economic problems, but it could have a very big impact on the future. Tonight, Steve Davis has the first part of a look at that project and what it means to us. Here it is.
The man is a scientist, a physicist named Harry Heckman, but he looked for all the world like a proud father passing out photographs of a new baby. What appears in those photos is not new. It's as old as the universe, but it has never been seen by human eyes before. This is a photograph of a heavy uranium ion colliding with another substance at near the speed of light. So what? Well, it's hard to say. This important advancement may contribute to unlocking certain basic secrets of the universe, perhaps even with a few practical human benefits along the way. What they've done here at the Lawrence Berkeley Laboratory is this. They've caused the heaviest to move the fastest. The scientists have made a heavy uranium ion travel at nearly the speed of light. The physical process begins behind this door in room 202 at the Berkeley Accelerator. This is the place where a particle of metal is converted to individual atoms, then stripped of some of its electrons and set into motion. It will accelerate from 0 to nearly 180,000 miles per second within seconds. That tiny particle is shot from room 202 through a stainless steel transfer pipe around an elbow and past a series of electromagnets which boost its speed step by step, where additional electrons are stripped away. It's a journey through a world of the smallest known particles traveling at the fastest known speeds. But it occurs in a system of magnets and plumbing. The uranium ion needs physical space in a straight line or a circle to get up to speed, just like a drag race car needs the track. And this is some kind of drag strip. Through the linear accelerator, out the door, and around the bend, down the hill, through a zigzag and into another building, the Bevtron building, where the real speed work begins.
Now, this is the point at which we get to involve ourselves with some sexy figures, some astounding numbers. You'll hear the bell that's going off just to my right, that bell. Now, in the time interval between when your ear first senses that bell and the sound of it just fades off to where you don't sense it anymore, roughly a second's time, a number of things have happened in the Bevtron on which we're standing. First of all, that uranium nucleus, that heavy ion, has traveled around the circumference of this large building 1,000,000 times, which is the equivalent distance of 100,000 miles. And in so doing has accelerated its speed to the point where, as it entered, traveling at roughly 10% the speed of light, it's now reached, during that second's time, a speed of about 80% of the speed of light.
Once the ion has attained full speed, record speed in this case, the physicists arrange a wreck on the track. They aim the ion at another substance and cause a collision. It is an infinitely violent collision in that tiny world. It is also the instant at which the scientists learn most about the matter they are studying. The collision is captured by thousands of detectors and recorded on computer-controlled magnetic tape. It is the instant in which the basic stuff of the universe is visible. In Berkeley, Steve Davis, Channel 7 News.
Phenomenal stuff happening in the East Bay Hills. All of this experimentation is happening during a time of severe economic stress for the University of California, and with the possibility of huge expenses for continued research. Officials are asking tonight whether it's really worth it to keep going just for the science, the sake of science. We'll have more on part 2 of the story tomorrow night of Steve's reports as we look at that, the costs and what they're getting out of it.
We had a report, Van, yesterday here on Channel 7 News, seen at 6, on nuclear research at the Lawrence Radiation Laboratory in Berkeley. Now, what they're doing there is very, very exciting to the entire scientific world. But the layman may well ask a very practical question. That is, what do we gain practically from all this research? And why should we spend so much of our money on it when we don't know where it's going to lead? Well, in part 2 of our series on nuclear research, Channel 7's Steve Davis asked that question and got these answers.
You never know what stone you might turn over and find something underneath that in fact will be highly useful in coming years.
It is the basic argument for fundamental research, a touchstone in the unending debate over whether we should spend substantial amounts of money for research that has no specific goal other than to push the bounds of knowledge forever forward.
One just needs knowledge to be able to, knowledge to recognize what the problems are, and knowledge to be able to respond to them. I think without knowledge, one is totally lost.
The other argument for fundamental research is that we benefit in very practical ways from the work of scientists who had no idea that their research would lead to invention. Invention of, say, the telephone. Graham Bell's work could only begin where a physicist left off.
All the radio and television sets that we have today originate from discoveries made in the middle of the 19th century in terms of electromagnetic waves.
You pursue the research because you're hopeful that you'll learn something that not only will be beautiful and allow you to understand the physical world and how it works and appreciate it more, but would have applications that would eventually be helpful and useful.
We do a healthy mix of both applied research as well as very basic fundamental research here.
Examples: the linear accelerator and the Bev-Tron at Lawrence Berkeley are used in medicine. Nearly every day, ambulances pull into the cavernous building that houses the machine, the Bev-Tron, that has just been used to move heavy ions at nearly the speed of light, and in so doing has created a state of matter that hasn't existed since the very first few seconds of the creation of the universe. It's heady stuff. But the ambulance is here to discharge a patient who is dealing with life and death. A patient who will sit before the business end of a neon beam. That beam will be directed to a precise point within the patient's body, there to attack a tumor.
Or another application has to do with the survival of computer equipment, which is put up in space, so we can put the computer boards, memory boards in our beam, and see whether or not the integrity of the data stored in the memory is affected by the passage.
Translation. From time to time, we have programmed satellite computers, then sent them into space, and found that cosmic rays up there have altered the computer's memory, reprogrammed them. Spooky. They can test for those effects at Berkeley now before launching the machines into space. The pure and the practical, and the way one grows from the seeds of the other.
One never knows what will be the long-term outcome of such studies. We're very much interested in the relationship between time and space and energy, and we just have no idea when we understand these things what the outcome will be.
In Berkeley, Steve Davis, Channel 7 News.
Next on our news here, Channel 7 at 6 o'clock, Jim Slaney will be here with the sports. We'll be going live to Candlestick Park. In fact, we just did. And the Giants there are about to take on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Stay tuned.
Right now, significant savings can be yours when you purchase any new Cadillac. Now through May 31st, Cadillac is offering 12.8% financing on...
Ambulance drivers are happy right now that you can only win the Super Bowl once a year, Terry.
Charles, is anyone offering any ideas as to why things got out of hand?
Several police officers said to me along the route out there that one of the things that could have been different here is that this event could have been held earlier in the day, say for instance at 10 o'clock in the morning. That way there wouldn't have been the traffic problems late in the afternoon. Also, it would have been away from nightfall, because after night fell here, that's when a lot of the weird things began to happen.
Okay. Of course, Charles, the team wasn't scheduled to arrive till the afternoon, so we're kind of caught between the rock and the hard place, right?
Right.
Thank you for your report. There was more trouble around the 49er celebration when the parade route was abruptly changed at the last minute. San Francisco police were forced into making the sudden change because the crowds were so large, the parade units just couldn't get through. Many fans had been waiting hours to see their heroes, and they were not happy when the parade passed them by.
And all of a sudden, massive people running by the building because they're going over to Mission Street.
Well, you know, crowd control was one reason.
Well, I know it. I'm really angry about that because they had 2 weeks to know that there was going to be a parade. Whether we won or lost, there was going to be a parade celebrating this terrific team.
Are you kind of mad that the city maybe didn't plan this a little better?
Oh, nah, it's just too many people. You can't get mad, honey, we won.
So not all the faithful were angry about the sudden change in plans for the 49er parade, but for many of those who waited hours, this day of celebration turned into a day of great disappointment.
There's one very important 49er who just could not make it to the big parade here in San Francisco today. That is quarterback Joe Montana. He had to stay on in Detroit to receive his award as Sports Magazine's most valuable player. A big trophy, a brand new car, and a new life for the family of the Montanas.
Our whole lives are going to be different from here on out, and I know it's not going to end for a while. I hope a long time.
So what do you remember about the game now?
We won. I can't wait to get home. That's it.
Well, Super Bowl 16 may be over and San Francisco may have won, but Joe Montana and his wife have just arrived in Honolulu, where he will play, of course, in the Pro Bowl on Sunday.
And still ahead on News Scene tonight, the exploits of San Francisco's fried chicken gang. We'll take a look at where at least some of the 49ers will be going from here. It's not over yet. A 3-alarm fire causes some concern in San Francisco tonight while one man loses his business, and there's still some